Good morning. It's Amy Bennett with AM Show. I'm so glad that you're here. Thank you for watching. I'm glad to meet with you every day. It's a beautiful day here in South Carolina, except the humidity is crazy. I want you to just like see my hair. Y'all, the thing is about getting older is you get gray hair and it's not the same consistency of your current hair. At least mine's not. Mine is like curly and crazy, and so I feel like I have like a little Einstein hair trying to get out of my head. Anyway, so this morning I just want to talk to you about something I've been learning. It has some spiritual ties, but it is not it's not directly from scripture. I definitely think it is all about our body, soul, and mind connection, but it is not necessarily it's not necessarily like, I'm not going to pull out scripture today. So what I have, well, first of all, the reason I'm late, and this is the reason that I want to talk about it, is the reason I'm late. I was praying this morning and it just really felt like the Lord wanted me to go swimming. So I went swimming for about 15 minutes this morning, and the reason, and I want to talk about the reason why we went swimming. And these are just some things that I've learned over the last probably 9 months or so that I want to share. So what I have learned through, I went to counseling starting back at the end of November, 1st of December last year. And some of it has to do with, and she is an adoption family specialist. She works with a lot of adoptive families, and one of the things that I learned from her and then continue to learn since then is about how our body stores up trauma. Like literally down to the cellular level, our body is going to keep trauma. So we can believe that we don't have memories of it consciously, but our body actually remembers. And one of the books that she gave me, I don't think I've talked about it on here. Maybe I have talked about it on here before, but it's called The Body Keeps the Score. And it's by a doctor, and he, Brain, Mind, and Body in the Healing of Trauma. And it's all about trauma and how your body literally just keeps a score. The trauma is actually stored in your body. And so he spends the first half of the book talking about how that might affect. He dealt a lot with veterans and PTSD, but it has, it's applicable to us all, guys. I mean, this is something that I've learned. We've all been through trauma in one way or the other. And I don't mean a traumatic experience. I just mean any sort of, there's sin in the world. Somebody is going to hurt you in some way or the other. And so we have all been through some sort of trauma. And then so like the last half of the book is actually them talking about the different types of therapies that you can do to release that trauma. And one of those is internal family systems, which is the type of counseling that I actually went through with my counselor. Another therapy in here is one of the therapies that we're working on getting for Jacob this summer. There's yoga in here. There's another thing called EMDR. So all these therapies that you can use to help your body heal of this trauma, and you can be healed. And it is such a spiritual connection. So when I was in counseling, it was a spiritual experience, even though it was a physical experience as well. Like it's all connected. Your mind and your body and your spirit are all connected. And so while your body is keeping it, for me, the healing came through my mind and my spirit. Marie says, I need this book. Yes, you do need this book. Everybody needs this book. It's scientific, but we just need it to, if nothing else, this is going to give you empathy for a lot of people in your life. And so if you were listening to my podcast, I had Elisa Keaton on, and she is from Revelation Wellness. And the way she likes to say it is, I think she says, bad news gets stuck in good people. Bad news gets stuck in good people. And she, her whole ministry is around getting people, her whole thing is about being well as a roundabout whole person. And part of that though is moving your body, because moving your body helps you get rid of the trauma. And so she actually has a podcast. I'm going to link all of this, but she actually has a podcast I think it's the Revelation Wellness Podcast, where you can plug it into your ears while you're working out, whether you're on a spin bike or whether you're walking, whatever you're doing, and she has music in the background, and she is actually talking to you and talking you through kind of processing whatever emotions or negative energy, if you will, that is going, and it becomes a very spiritual experience as you look to God, and she's reading scripture over you, and it's just an amazing experience. And they do have RevWell all across the country, so if you you can go to their website and see if they have like a class that they actually train people to walk people through these types of exercising, and they suggest that you do it in community, because of course community heals us too. Okay, so that's like kind of how I got introduced to it. And then I will say a couple things, and I just like to share all the different things that I learned. You guys know I like Trim Healthy Mama. I think you guys have heard me talk about them, and they have a podcast. I learned all my stuff. My kids make fun of me because I'm always like, well, I was listening to this podcast, or I was listening to this video, or I was reading this book. They're like, Mom, like, quit. So they get to hear all the stuff. So that's what I'm doing to you. You get to hear all the things. So Trim Healthy Mama actually had a podcast about, and I talked about the first part of this podcast about how you can be a healer, and it's all about like what we say. And I know I talked about this a couple weeks ago, but they had a second part to that podcast episode where they talked about how water actually stores up memory. Water on its own, not just, we're made 70% water, right? But water on its own. So they've done these scientific experiments that you can just take two jars of water, you can speak hate to one of them and speak love to the other, and it actually remembers what was spoken to it, and it actually changes the way that it at a cellular level, like the way that it is responding. And it sounds so freaky. It's weird. You can look it up, and I'm going to link the episode so you can hear it. This is not woo-woo stuff. This is like science. They also have taken rice and two different things. Kids have done this in school as science project. You speak hate to one, you speak love to the other. The rice that has hate spoken to it begins to grow the mold and mildew and whatever else food grows, and then the rice that has love to it stays healthier for longer. They've done this with bananas. 2 bananas, the one that has spoken hate over it will rot faster than the one that is healthy. Well, look it up. It is crazy. So that is the Trim Healthy Mama podcast. And so the whole point of what they were saying was it matters at a physical level how we speak to ourselves and how we speak to other people. We are affecting them at a physical level, and it leads to, if we've got all this hate and negative stuff, it leads to disease. It leads to disease and not life. And I've talked about before, is how we speak is so important. And then I was listening to another podcast called Fun Therapy. Mike Foster hosts it, and he is a licensed counselor, and it's called Fun Therapy because he actually does therapy sessions like on the podcast, but it's like fun therapy, and it's so very interesting, and he just kind of talks to people about like things that they've been through, and it's not like people are not like crying and like working through stuff, but they're just having like a conversation about this. And that's amazing. That's an amazing podcast. But in one part of it, he was talking about, in this last week, he was talking actually about how our body, the relationship between body and trauma. So this is coming up like over and over for me. And he gave a good example of, he was somewhere, I think at On Site, which is a place that you go for a kind of longer term therapy. And there were horses, and the storm was coming up, and the horses began flailing about basically in the field as the storm comes up. And the guy said horses will release their negative energy by physically moving around. So they're anxious about the storm coming, so they will like physically move around to get rid of that negative energy. And so all of that to say, so it started, I started with the counseling and the trauma and hearing about how at a physical level in the water, because we're made 70% water, the water can have memory, and the trauma is stored there. And you know, Elisa talking about releasing the trauma physically from our body, and hearing about the horses and all this stuff. Listen, guys, we need to release our trauma physically. And so what I'm saying is not really spiritual, but it is spiritual. So this morning, you know, I mean, if you have, you know, bitterness, anger, bitterness trying to take root, and you feel it in your body, right? You feel it down in your stomach, you can feel it in your neck, and you can feel it in your shoulders, and sometimes you can like even feel it down into your arms, and like, you have this, you can physically feel the negative thoughts and the negative stuff. And guys, that'll get stuck in your body, and then will not be health for you. And so this morning, that's what the Lord was trying to tell me to do. Get in the pool and get some of the negative energy out. So you guys know we've had a tough week, bad news, we've got grief going on, you know, we've just got the regular family stuff, trying to figure all this out going on. And you know, we've got to deal with it physically too. We have to deal with it physically too. And there's something about it, and as you are exercising and moving your body, that you would be praying as well, and letting your body feel where it feels, and releasing that to the Lord, and it becomes a very spiritual thing. And so I think a lot of people, and especially for me, it was like, keep your body physically healthy, keep your body spiritually healthy, keep your body mentally healthy, and it was all kind of separate, but it's all tied together. And you know, just for an example, like if we're dealing with anger, if we let that like just sit in our bodies, that's going to turn to bitterness. That's a spiritual issue. It's a spiritual issue, but it's stored it's stored in our bodies physically, and it's so weird. And that is, and anybody knows, people who really deal with unforgiveness and bitterness are not healthy people. They will end up physically sick a lot because of the emotional and spiritual issues that they have. You just know some people that they're not well because they are not spiritually well. It's all tied together. And so that is, I'm saying all this to encourage you. Move your body. Move your body with the intention of releasing sin, releasing any of the negative. I'm thinking like anger, unforgiveness, you're feeling impatient. There's sometimes recently that I have been getting, you know, I'll get impatient with my kids, and they'll do something and it'll make me crazy, and it's hard to move on. I will just go do push-ups. I would just go do push-ups to like physically get it out. And you know what it reminded me of is Taylor Swift's song Shake It Off. You know what this is? It's shake it off. Like literally, that's like a scientific thing that we have to physically shake things off. And so I guess my message today is to shake it off, physically shake off, because we have a mind, body, and spirit connection, and sometimes that we have to physically shake it off. And you will be amazed when you physically deal with things, how emotionally and spiritual it is. It is all connected. So all that to say, it does not, like I said, you don't need to go to a fancy gym. You don't need a pool in your backyard. Do some sit-ups and push-ups. Do some running in progress. Go take a walk with your dog. It does not have to be fancy. You don't need orange therapy. You don't, or whatever that place is. I don't know if you guys have that near you, but it's like this new craze around here. You don't have to do, oh gosh, what is that stuff where they do like the big tires and the crazy stuff? I can't think of that name, of course, at the moment. But it doesn't have to be fancy. But what I'm saying is that you do have a mind, body, spirit connection, and that just want to encourage you to exercise your body today. Just CrossFit. Thank you, Heather. Exercise your body today. It is spiritually related. It is not just about having a healthy body. It is not just about losing weight. It is a spiritual issue, and that is part of how we deal with stuff. 4 boys, 1, 3, 8, and 20. Oh goodness, you just run in place, Sherry. You just run after. I think you running after those boys probably will do it for you. Oh my gosh, get them all with you. Those boys, they need to work out. Do jumping jacks with them. Y'all all need to be working out. Oh gosh, Sherry. Okay, I want to say good morning to folks. Let's see, Darian was able to join. Marie, good morning. Lori, Sherry, Connie, my sister Heather, Kathy. Good morning, Kathy. I haven't seen you pop up here lately. Sherry says I would be dancing with the baby. Yes, dancing is such a great thing too. That is definitely. Whoa, sorry, that is not my forte. That is not my forte. Although I will tell you a little known fact about me. When Scott and I were dating, before we got married, we would go country line dancing. We would go up to Coyote Joe's. If you guys have ever heard of that in Charlotte, it's a little country bar, and we would go for lessons, dancing lessons on Wednesday and Thursday, and then Friday, or no, I think Wednesday and then Thursday, and I think Friday night they would usually have, we were really big into country music. We would then go to the concert on Friday. Like we did this like every weekend while I was in college. So I think I got all my physical energy out in college. Dancing and in high school I did volleyball. I played volleyball. I sat on the bench. So anyway, yeah. That's what I wanted to say. Caleb says hello, Amy. He's probably saying, Ami. My mom was on here yesterday and she said that I was doing this video and he kept trying to get my attention. He thought we were on FaceTime. Ami? I mean, I wasn't listening. So hi, Caleb. Hi, Caleb. I see you. Kathy said, is this the book on my wish list from your podcast early in the year? Yes. I talked about this from my podcast and it was so good. The Body Keeps the Score. Absolutely. And Elisa Keaton that I had on, that was Elisa Keaton from Revelation Wellness. She actually has a book out too that talks about wholeness and wellness and all of that. So it's just amazing what science is showing. Guys, God created our bodies. This is not a surprise. He created our bodies to work like this. And you know, science just proves over and over how God created our bodies, and it's all connected. It's all connected. But nobody can move your body for you. Can I just say that? Unless you're like chasing a kid around and you have to. But like, we have to take responsibility for our spiritual health by moving our physical bodies. And I'm preaching to myself. Because ever since I hurt my foot, I haven't been able to work out as much as I wanted to. But swimming is good. And anyway, okay, I'm starting to ramble, but I appreciate you guys joining in. Move your body today, even if it is doing 20 push-ups when we get off here. Move your body and seek the Lord while you do it, okay? All right, you guys have a wonderful day. See you back tomorrow. Bye. Bye, Caleb.